The Chargers just got their GM. Joe Hortiz has now been officially announced as the Chargers general manager. They're still working out the details of that contract, but it is now fair to say that it's official. Joe Hortiz is the general manager and Jim Harbaugh is our head coach, man. Bolt up, because this is the best offseason ever in my entire life. Probably the best offseason in Chargers franchise history, bro. I cannot believe the guys that we have secured to be on the Chargers, man. Not only the coaching staff, but now the general manager as well. If we just got Joe Hortiz in a vacuum, we only got him, and we didn't hire anybody else at this point, I would still be absolutely ecstatic about this hire. And if you've been watching me throughout this offseason and before this offseason even started, it was looking pretty bad towards the end of the season. Brandon Staley and Tom Telesco got fired after losing by 50 freaking points to the Raiders. And I am so glad, looking back, that happens, because now it has just resulted in the best feeling that I think ever had as a Chargers fan. The only other time that I felt this excited and this giddy just to be a Chargers fan was when they beat the Bengals in the playoffs. And I think the year was 2013. We beat the Bengals on the road in Cincinnati, Mike McCoy's first year. This is that same kind of feeling. This feels like a playoff win, bro. I know it's been so long since we won in the playoffs, but we have to celebrate our victories. Joe Hortiz, general manager, Justin Herbert, quarterback, and Jim Harbaugh, the head coach, man. That is JH cubed. And not only just Jim Harbaugh, bro, Jim has brought Ben Herbert, who I just made a video about today before I even knew that Joe Hortiz would be hired. I mean, I had a very good assumption that he would be, but I didn't think it would be this early. I thought it would happen like tomorrow. But Ben Herbert being hired is a huge win as well. It sets the tone for a winning culture with the Chargers, and we need that, man. I really encourage you to watch that video so you can see the stark difference between what Brandon Staley was giving to the Chargers in terms of motivation and what to work with, and then Ben Herbert, because it really, I really outlined the huge difference that is going to happen with the Chargers this next year. But then not only Ben Herbert, Jim Harbaugh has brought Jesse Minter, the defensive coordinator. Tomorrow, we're going to be talking about offensive coordinators. That's where it gets a little bit iffy, but we're celebrating the wins today, and we're going to talk about Joe Hortiz and everything that he has done with the Ravens and why this is such a great freaking hire, man. Even without Jim Harbaugh and everything, this alone is a great freaking hire. So make sure to like and subscribe if you do enjoy this content, man. I love making it right now because this is a great time to be a Chargers fan. Let me tell you a little bit about Joe Hortiz. Joe Hortiz is a graduate of the 2020 club for the Baltimore Ravens, and if you don't know what that is, it's a very high esteemed club of somebody who joined their organization when they were around 20 years old and then on a $20,000 salary, and then worked their way all the way up to be a major contributor for that team in their front office. He is one of only 8 guys, and that list includes Eric DeCosta, the Ravens' current general manager, Joe Hortiz, who is Eric DeCosta's right-hand man, and Ian Cunningham, who is now the Bears' assistant general manager. Brandon Brown was the only other guy to get a second interview for the Chargers, and there was a report yesterday that I showed in my video earlier today. Alex Katzen on Twitter, you should go follow him if you don't already, but he reported that Brandon Brown was looking at prospects in the East-West Shrine game at practice and stuff for the Giants. So to me, that was a dead giveaway. And Joe Hortiz has worked his way up since the year 1998. He started as a personnel assistant, became a pro scout in 2001, and then 2009, he became the director of college scouting until 2018, and then 2019, he became the director of player personnel. And let's look at a couple of the drafts that he has had since 2009. So let's just go through his drafts. From 2009, when he was the director of college scouting, very first draft, Michael Oher, Paul Kruger, Ladarius Webb. In the first draft, man, that is great. Arthur Jones in the 5th, that's good value. Then Pernell McPhee in the 5th the next year, and Jimmy Smith in the 1st round. He's really good at drafting defensive players. And also just look at how many picks that they have every single year because of their success in the compensatory draft process, man. That is something that we should expect to see the Chargers take advantage of. The Ravens have always been great in the draft and in free agency and managed to secure multiple picks from the NFL through that compensatory pick system, and they also have more success than anybody in the supplemental draft, which I know it doesn't really mean much in the grand scheme of things, but it's worth noting because they utilize everything the NFL has to their advantage and make their team better. Kelechi Osemele in the second round. That 2013 draft, bro, is awesome. Brent Urban in the fourth round, Matthew Judon in the fifth round. He's really good at drafting some of those pass rushers in the later rounds. Chuck Clark in the sixth, the same year that you got Chris Wormley, Marlon Humphrey, and Tyus Bowser for your defense, man. They're loading up. And then 2018 draft, man, a lot of hits in there. Mark Andrews, who I actually went to high school with, Lamar Jackson, Bradley Bozeman, Orlando Brown Jr. in the third round. That is great value. Zach Seiler in the seventh round. He wasn't great on the Ravens, but he's doing really well for himself on the Dolphins. And now we enter 2019, where he became the director of player personnel. So he has more power here. And that first pick, Marquise Brown in the first, it's not great, okay? Ben Powers is a good fourth round pick. Their offensive guard. Then the very next year in 2020, there are a ton of contributors here, man. Basically, everybody is a hit. Just go down that list. 2021, Ben Cleveland, Brandon Stevens, and Odafe Owe, all hits. Then 2022, again, a ton of hits here, man. Basically, everyone is a freaking hit. And then they finally have 2023, where they drafted Zay Flowers. That's annoying. But then, hey, Andrew Voorhees from USC, he's going to come back from injury next year, and he's probably going to compete for a starting job. So that's 2 hits, I'm certain of. The other guys, we don't know as of right now because they were just rookies in this past season. But if you go back and look at all of these drafts that Joe Hortiz has had with the Ravens, obviously he's not the only one that has say in this. I'm sure if he had total and final say, some of these guys wouldn't have been drafted and he would have drafted some other guys. Who knows how good it would have been had he had the final say in every pick, but he had a lot of say in a lot of these drafts. And a lot of these guys are some really good players on the Ravens and just in the NFL in general. But it's not only about the draft process, it's about the free agents. Like I said, the compensatory draft system, we're going to have a lot more draft picks to work with. We're probably going to see a lot more trades because the Ravens have traded picks in the past more than the Chargers have. So hopefully we're going to get some action there on draft day as well. And also Joe Hortiz, he is going to be aligned with Jim Harbaugh and what Jim Harbaugh wants to coach, the players that he wants to coach, because he already knows what John Harbaugh wants, and they run that same style of not only defense like Jesse Minter, and we talked about how similar he is to the Ravens defense with Mike McDonald, but John Harbaugh, that same brand of football that Jim Harbaugh runs. You run heavy, you're physically dominant, and you just beat the man in front of you for 60 straight freaking minutes, and I cannot wait to see the impact that Joe Hortiz has. I can't wait to see his first move, bro. Who is going to be a Jim Harbaugh guy on the Chargers and who is not a Jim Harbaugh guy? Because we are going to find that out very soon. And if you didn't see my video from earlier today, I talked a little bit more about that Jim Harbaugh culture that he's going to bring to the Chargers. He just hired Ben Herbert. This is a huge hire.